everybody? Happy day. It is the Cleveland Stage Store. My name is Jimmy. That is Stacy. Stacy, hello.
Hello, Jimmy. Hello. Are you dying from last night still? I'm so tired.
I am tired. I'm exhausted, but that's what happens when we're old and we get
I
out at
know,
11
right?
o'clock at night and they don't get home until almost midnight. But it was phenomenal. What a show. And I have to say that montage does not do that show justice.
Yeah, no. Like in the what is that? A minute long montage. It
hmm
hit so many different parts of that show, but oh man, it was so good. Of course, last night we went to see Tina um at Playhouse Square in Connor Palace. It was fabulous.
hmm
Fabulous.
hmm
Jimmy, what were your thoughts? Because I going in, I was really excited to see it because it was something new that I hadn't seen before, but
hmm
I didn't know what to expect. What about you?
I did not know what to expect. I've heard rumors, and it only lasted a couple of years on Broadway, so it's like, okay, let's see what happens. Well, man, it blew away every expectation I had. That was a top notch show, top
Yeah.
notch. The excitement, the Naomi Rogers as Tina was phenomenal,
Whew.
and I don't know how she has stamina to do that because girl, that was crazy. That was intense. And she was there for the entire 2 hour and 45 minute show. Like she was
Yeah.
on stage the entire 2 hours. I'm
Can I
like,
tell you, it from from an actor's point of view, you know that you don't have a lot of time when you don't even have 10 seconds to run backstage and change. Like they
mm-hmm,
did so many quick changes on stage during the
right,
show that I was so like blown out of the water that
yeah.
this woman never had a break. Naomi better be resting today. In fact, she better still be asleep because last night was so much work for her. She was so good though, wasn't she?
Yeah, her voice is phenomenal. She was so good, and speaking of that, like she even cleared it up on Instagram this morning. Then said there's only one Tina on stage. I do not trade spots with anybody. I'm on the stage the entire night. So when it's either Naomi or Zurin, or I think that's her name.
Zurant, yeah.
Yeah. So you get one of the two Tinas, and both of them are top notch, and it's a workout. It's a workout.
There are for our listeners out there that are all big musical theater people, there are a very select few parts that I feel like run a gauntlet that you don't get to walk off stage. For females, that's things like Fanny Bryce or Madame Rose and Gypsy. This is right up there with it. I think that this woman, from the second that she hit the stage to the end of the show, might have had time to go off and drink one little of water for that amount of time. Like, I don't think that there was any moment where she wasn't just giving her all. So, like,
Like half the transitions and scenes was her changing in the middle of the stage and
yeah,
getting into a new outfit and a different time of the show, like different time of the era of the years, and it was phenomenal. And the one thing that I would mention is like it's crazy how these musicals are bringing more and more like the LED walls to bring the sets to life instead of using
oh,
your
yeah,
typical
that was
backdrops,
so cool. That was
right?
so cool. The backdrop moving and changing and uh taking you in and out of every scene. It's just so it's a great new use of technology that's been there and I really liked that.
Right, right. That's pretty awesome. And then, our friend Garrett Turner, he was Ike. His voice is so smooth and his personality, like he just fits that role perfectly. It was
It's it's so
so great.
funny. He did such a great job and knowing him and having spoken with him, like he's such a sweet and well-mannered and just a very thoughtful person, and then you see him up on stage doing the things that Ike Turner did, which
Mm-hmm.
were not
Mm-hmm.
great for poor
No.
Tina. And it's such a juxtaposition, but he did such a good job of it. By the end of it, I was like, which we didn't get a chance to ask him. But I really wanted to know, now that I've seen the show, I, Garrett, if you're out there listening, how does it feel to have an entire 2,000 person audience clapping and cheering while you're getting beat up? Like,
And
in, go
it's
ahead.
deep. Like it's deep. Like the first act alone is very raw and very real, and about what was happening back in the day and how people were treated back in the day, and just the elements that Tina had to go through to get through the trenches to get to where she is today. It's a very raw first act. And disclaimer, I've never seen this before, but Playhouse Square actually has you accept a disclaimer saying if you bring a child, you are fully warned that this is a very, very dark show in the beginning, and before you can even buy tickets, like they fully disclaim that you should not bring your children to this show because of the language, because of the rawness, because of the conversations you would have to have after the show with your kids, and maybe that's good to have those conversations with your kids about how it was it back. But like, I've never seen a disclaimer for a show when you bought tickets saying, "Hey, don't." We just fully advise you about when you bring your kids to the show.
Yeah. Well, it's so hard because, you know, with Tina Turner's life as as just like a human, not even the show, there were so many ups and downs and so many
Mm-hmm.
things that were really tragic in her real life that she overcame and got to do these amazing things and still, shared her gift with the world. And I think that that's really inspirational. But you're right, man. This show starts off with somebody getting slapped across the face
Yeah.
almost. That's in
Yeah.
scene number two. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, you definitely have to make sure that you're prepared for a show like this, for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely. Absolutely. And then, what a great talent that was there last night. The ensemble was phenomenal. I don't know how during the encore or the curtain call, how they had the stamina to twist around a million times while trying to sing. That was so good.
The dancing was great too. The singing was so good. I mean, really, you can tell these people have been out on tour for a while and they've really gelled. Their voices just sound great together. Everybody matched each other really well. I don't have anything negative to say when it comes to the talent. The dancing was way more than I would dance. I think it was nuts. And I have to say, and maybe this is taboo, maybe the internet's gonna be mad at me, but the people on stage were all jacked. I don't know if you noticed, man, but dancing like that for that long and touring, and I guess, I don't know, maybe they all are like gym rats. Every person, a man, woman, and child, and ooh, there were some children in this show that were so good too, but man, woman, and child on stage, every single person was like, hello, I've shown up to lift weights. Like they were here for it. I don't know
Yeah,
how you get
yeah,
that fit, but if it's the Broadway diet and exercise program, I'll take it. I'll take
yeah.
it.
And you have to be with this show. Like, you have to be in fit and be able to have that stamina to go through. Like, some of these backup singers were on the stage just as much as Tina was. And Tina was on the stage from start. Like, she started the show, she ended the show, she was on there for at least 98% of the show. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, more than that, man. Like, and that sounds crazy because how do you get more than 98%? She did it. She did.
Yeah,
Oh, I can't believe it.
right.
Oh, hey, I know we didn't plan for this, but I literally just got a message from Garrett right now because I
Oh,
sent him a little like, thank you for having us. It was so good to talk to you and just see everything come alive last night. And he just said that he is so very glad to be here in Cleveland. It seems like it's a good place to go out and have a fun time. Plus, the audience last night was one of the best that they've had. And the whole cast is headed to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame today for press
nice.
and to have a
Nice.
time and enjoy and see Tina's real costume. So that should be
Yeah.
really fun. How cool!
I messaged him last night. I was like, because he took a picture of the airport Rock and Roll Hall of Fame setup, and he put it on Instagram, and I messaged him. I was like, you know, they have like Tina's outfits and everything on display at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to make sure to go check it out. And I'm glad to hear that they're all going and they're going to go
I mean,
check that
absolutely.
out.
When you're that close, come on, Cleveland's where it's at, man. You
Right,
got to do it while you're here.
right. And the proclaimed queen of rock and roll definitely deserves to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for sure.
Absolutely. And she is, man. I have to say, and maybe it's blasphemous, but I kind of forgot all of her hits. Like, of course, when you think of Tina Turner, you think of Private Dancer. You think of Simply the Best, you know? But
Hmm.
this show, for being a jukebox show and having that, let's take songs from the entire catalog of career, there was so much in there. And I went home last night still singing at the top of my lungs. That drive back to Akron was real fun for my husband.
I bet you he'd love that. Overall, though, that was a great show. Great, phenomenal show. Like I said, the first half is raw and difficult road to get through, but the second half brings you home. Like that, like the second half just shows like if you don't give up, you keep going and keep pushing for your goals and keep pushing to get that dream. And as you saw, as you might know about the Tina Turner story, is when she got divorced from Mike, she had nothing. She went to all she wanted was her name. She couldn't sing the songs from the Ike and Tina review. She couldn't do really anything. So when she restarted from the bottom, and like record labels were concerned about signing her and taking a risk on her, and then she finally got her one break, and that's all it takes is one break, and they displayed that perfectly during the show, and the perseverance and the push, the drive. It was a great story.
Absolutely. Well, you think it's so funny anymore because there was a line in the show, and I'm paraphrasing, so I don't know it certainly, but there was a line in the show that said something about how nobody's interested in a 40-year-old woman.
Right.
And I went, 40? That's not even like J-Lo is 50, Shakira is 50. I don't know if you've ever seen Jennifer Aniston, but hello, people are interested. But in the early 80s, when video and music videos were first coming out, it was true. It was like, oh, if you don't
Yep.
have that thing, you're not even going to get recognized. So even though she had decades of being this phenomenal singer that drew a crowd, that had this career, as soon
Hmm.
as Ike was gone and as soon as the musics were gone, or it was like the record label just didn't even want to entertain her at all. And that's terrible because some of her best stuff came out after that old man had to go.
Right. Yes. And speaking of other people in the cast, let's
Oh,
run through this. So Naomi Rogers, once again, Tina Turner, she was phenomenal. She was so good. Garrett Turner was so great for the role. His smooth voice, his great personality, the charisma on stage. He was awesome. Roz White, who played Selma, was awesome as well. That's like we could run through all of this, and we're going to say the same thing. The voices were top notch for the show, and I know we've said that 3 or 4 times now during the show, but like you can't really you could have put a better team like cast together for to portray Tina Turner and put together a great ensemble to back up the powerful voice of Naomi. Like her voice was so powerful.
so clear too.
Oh yeah.
There's this thing that happened, and out as the show progressed, you could hear Naomi move her voice into that signature Tina Turner style.
Hmm.
And it was crazy to me because when she first opened her voice, the very first time that she sang in the first act, when she walked out on stage and just let it rip, I was like, ooh, this woman can sing. But in the back of my head, I was like, she sounds beautiful. She doesn't sound like Tina Turner does, because Tina Turner has such a distinctive voice, you know?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but as the show progressed and moved forward, it was like every time there was that time jump, every time there was a switch to it, every new song, she slipped more and more into that really controlled vibrato that Tina Turner has, and that almost too wild gruff in her voice. And
Mhm.
that to me says more than anything else, because as a singer, having to start using your voice in one way and over the course of an hour and a half change it to sound more like somebody else and then elevate it and still have the pitch, the tip, the timbre, the strength, the power, the emotions come through. Like, that woman, she deserves every award that we can give her. I'm saying it here first. She deserves
Mhm.
every award we can give her.
Right. Right. I
And
agree.
Jimmy,
And
can we talk about the little baby girl? What
oh
was her
yeah,
name?
yes. Now I don't know which one, but it's Brianna Cameron is
Yes.
uh was young anime, and then um Diana Benson. I can't pronounce this last name. Was uh oh, she was the understudy.
Well, our little anime last night, girl. I mean, I
Yeah,
said
her
to
voice was
the
phenomenal.
I said to the people around me, I was like, it's a half hour past this little girl's bedtime. She's that young. She's little. She's little. She's just starting out. And I mean, literally, the first song started wailing, and it was so good. It was so good. The woman who was sitting behind me, this little baby anime opened her voice, let it shine through, and the woman behind me went, "Oh, well, that's not fair."
That's great. And I got a clear answer. Is Ava Johnson was the young anime. Brianna is the understudy for young anime.
Okay.
So so Ava was phenomenal, and she was on the Broadway show too, Broadway cast as well
Yeah,
for
that
Tina.
makes sense. Because this woman, she's like 12. This little baby girl, she she sings like she was put on this earth to sing. If that girl doesn't go on to win Tonys and Grammys and Oscars and every single thing that you can, I don't know who will, because she was just wonderful.
Mhm. Mhm.
A little shining
Wonderful.
moment I didn't know that I was going to get out of this show. And I expected this show to be really good. So that should tell you something about how wonderful she was.
Yes, definitely. So overall, I think it was a great show. Um, I think it's the best curtain call I've had so far. That they've had so far this season. Like, that was electric. That was phenomenal. Like, the last 3 or 4 songs were just insane. Um,
Chef's
it
kiss.
was. Uh, I think I am willing to say if Beetlejuice was not on this season, that this probably would have been my favorite show of the season.
That's
It
some
was
big
it was
words.
it was so good. Like, the talent is unmatched. Like, between, like, you can't even, like, I don't know how Playhouse Square is going to beat this season. Like, you have Tina, you have Hades Town, you have Six the musical coming up still. You have Moulin Rouge still come up. You had Beetlejuice, you had Cats, you had Les Mis all in one season. Like,
Okay, but don't forget though, next year we have Company coming. We have
mm-hmm,
um Back to the Future, Mrs. Doubtfire. So like they're doing real good for next year, but you're right, this
oh
year
for
was
sure.
kind of amazing.
Right, right. It's gonna be hard to beat next year for sure. Or the any time soon. To be honest with you, like, the amount of, like, one day we'll have to go through and just count the amount of Tony Awards that these shows in 2022 have, because every show we've had this year has won multiple Tonys.
You think that they have somebody in? at Playhouse Square, like sitting back and being like, this year's lineup only got 12 Tonys. Next year's lineup has 18. We gotta figure it out. You know?
Oh, and I'm not complaining about next year. Next year is going to be a great year between the Key Bank Broadway series and the Huntington Bank and the feature performances. It's going to be top notch for sure.
It really is. Can we talk about, so I've gone and I've seen a lot of live theater this year, and this is a topic that I don't know, we're rehashing again, but since the pandemic has eased and more people feel more comfortable going out into public and more people feel good, this is my hot take of the show. And it has nothing to do with the actual show last night, right? I think it's a compliment to the people on stage that the people in their seats, at least the people that I was sitting around, couldn't stop singing along. And maybe I'm a curmudgeon, but I'm there to see the people on stage, not Sandy, who's sitting next to me on her second bottle of wine. But when you are so taken up in a moment, I guess, you know, the woman who was sitting next to me, who was just so engrossed in the show, forgot that she was in public. And by the second act, she was singing pretty much every word right along with Naomi on stage. So I gotta say, Cleveland audiences, please make sure that you're being very respectful to the people on stage. Enjoy, dance, go crazy, but like, you know, keep it contained. Keep yourself to the first bottle of wine. Sandy sitting next to me. Don't.
Right.
That wasn't her name, by the way. That was not. But that's a true story. She was a little wasty.
They and they actually like at the end they suggest you to get into it. They like, but like yeah, I was having a good time in my seat. I wasn't singing along, but I was rocking. I was getting so excited during like 2 or 3 portions of the show, like right as oh my god, I just did a mind blank. But like during the end, I was shaking so bad that Ashley was like, "You gotta stop. You gotta calm down." And
yeah, no, the encore at the end is that's the time to let loose. That's the time to get up, stand up, scream, sing along, do everything you want to. I have to say it was energetic for everybody to stand up. But I know with you were probably shaking your legs so bad that the whole row was moving.
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They and it was just the music was perfect for the scene. The I'm still trying to figure out which song it was. The one that right. You remember when the chains came down? I have it right on the tip of my tongue. The chains came down in the first act, and it was right after she left Ike. It was it's one of her biggest hits. I just can't remember off the top of my head. And
Here, I'm looking. I mean, they started with Nutbush, so I know that wasn't it. Um,
I'm looking at it now.
I Don't Want to Fight was the very last one. And then Proud Mary, Private Dancer, Open Arms, Tonight, What's Love Got to Do with It?
I don't remember which one it was, but it could have been Proud Mary. Because remember, it started off really slow.
Yeah, no, that's Proud Mary.
And the
Left
the
a
ensemble
good job in the city. That one.
Yeah, the ensemble was like singing it very faintly as she was skating up. Remember?
Yes.
And you could tell like the energy in the crowd just started like shifting to a maximum when, especially right when the horns hit. Like I was watching the stage, but all of a sudden, right when the horns hit, you look up to the right in the boxes, and some girl just jumped up out of her seat and started dancing. I was like, okay, I'll take this. I loved it, honestly.
Well,
but
that's
like,
one of those moments where it became, I mean, I forgot that I was watching a musical. It became a concert. It was like a Tina Turner concert in there.
Right,
So
right.
good.
And I thought that's where they were going to go the intermission at, but there was like what, one more, two more songs after Proud Mary,
Yeah,
three,
yeah, yeah.
and they kind of like ended it more on like a another like quieter moment, like a not quieter but more of a like more mood shifting moment than
Yeah.
I thought that they would have. Like they should have. I felt like they should have ended the first half, the first act on a like more higher moment to get people to go excited to see the second half. But I get what they did. They got people out of that like sadness
Hmm.
and then put them right back. Then they got them like then they put them
Well,
right back into it. But they didn't
can
want them
we
to be too sad. That's the thing.
can we talk about that moment though? That I don't want to fight moment where it's just Tina standing on stage belting her little heart out about how she just doesn't want to fight or do this anymore. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that that song for me after Proud Mary changed that song for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um there was a lyric in there um that was, I don't know, when I heard it on the radio, it didn't really do much for me, right? But in the
Mm-hmm.
context of the show, um, it was I can see that you don't care and you're looking right through me. It seems to be lately you look at me the wrong way. And I was like, ooh, in the context of the show, like that is so
Mm-hmm.
heavy and heartfelt, and you can really feel what she's talking about. When I heard it on the radio, I was just like, oh, she mad at her husband. But that's not it. It was just
Right.
so much more. I feel like that moment of her in like the little matching sweatsuits in the recording studio, belting it for her life was really a moment I'm going to take with me.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, what's your final thoughts, Stacy, on the show?
My final thought is if you're in Cleveland, go see Tina. It's well worth it. If you're not in Cleveland, go see Tina when it comes through. It's well worth it. Whether you know about Tina Turner or you don't know about Tina Turner, would recommend you go see this show.
Yeah, I agree. Even if you're not a hardcore like musical theater fan, this is a show you could go to and you can understand and you can just enjoy. Like that's the thing. Like it brings so much joy to the show. And it hits you in every kind of feeling. And yeah, I feel that for sure.
I think it has a lot to be said that we both walked away from there feeling joy and hopeful when it can be such a hard story.
Hmm.
But for everybody in the theater walking out had a smile on their face. Everybody was, just you hear the murmurs as you're walking out to your car. Every one of those murmurs was about how joyful it was. So for the cast and the crew, thank you for making us all feel joyful through a very hard and heavy story. And I will definitely go see anything that any one of those people were cast in ever again.
Yeah, I agree. Like between like we were saying, we can't give enough praise to Naomi and Garrett and the entire cast. Like it's just I don't even know how to put the words into it. How good Naomi and Garrett and Brianna and all them
Yeah.
were.
Well, and it's so hard to name individuals because I feel like the company as a whole
Oh yeah,
just was so very good.
and the band.
Very good.
The band was phenomenal as well.
Oh yeah, well, Mr. Saxophone player that came out at the end, he was jamming. He was
Hmm.
jamming. He loved it, and I loved him.
And the fact that it looked like the band was on stage the entire time, and we had no idea. Like
Yeah,
it was crazy when they lifted up that curtain and the entire band was sitting there. Was standing there. Now I don't know if obviously the band was there the entire show, but it looked like they were, and it was awesome. It was really awesome.
yeah. There were a couple of sneaky moments like that that I loved. I loved.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give things away for people who are still going to go see it, because you should go see it. But there's
Yes.
just so many moments that were so very good, that
Mm-hmm.
really uh yeah, I think you said it best, Jimmy, where if it hadn't been for one of your most favorite shows coming through this season, this would be the front runner. I'm
Oh yeah.
waiting. I'm waiting for something to knock this show off its throne, but that's going to be really hard to do.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And we talked about earlier, like there's a couple like big shows coming up. Like you're talking Moulin Rouge, which is like cast wise is one of the biggest cast wise we have coming to Cleveland, and like set design wise, it's going to be phenomenal. And Six, the musical, that's just a different kind of musical altogether. That's a that's going to be great too, and it's going to be the shortest musical we'll ever see.
Yeah, I am looking forward to that because I don't know, aside from like the 1 minute video clips that I have seen on TikTok, I don't know anything about Six other than what you have shown me. So I'm super excited for Six to come through. I'm trying to go into a blackout so I don't know what's coming up so that I can experience it for the first time live. I think that that's one of the things that I love about live theater is experiencing
Mhm.
something for the first time live. So I'm really trying to like not already know the lyrics going in, but
Yeah,
it's
yep.
so
Too
hard
late.
to
Too late. Too late for me. That's all I listen to is Six the musical. So anyway, Tina Turner the musical is going to be at Counter Palace Theater, part of the Key Bank Broadway series, April 25th through May 14th. Tickets are still available. Go on playhousesquare.org to buy those. And trust me, this will be one of the shows that I am going to say, if you do not see this when it comes to town, you're going to regret it.
Yeah.
When this show ends and ends touring, it's going to be one of those things like, oh, I should have went and saw that. And obviously, and I don't say that a lot about a lot of shows, but like this is one of those shows. Like if you love the music of Tina Turner or you love the story of the Tina Turner and Ike review, you should go see this show. And tickets are not even that bad. Like the highest price ticket is $129. Like
Yeah.
compared to some of these other Broadway shows that's come to Cleveland, like that's really not bad price wise for that talent, that level of talent.
Yeah. I don't think you can get closer to Broadway talent. I really don't.
No,
Well, that's
no.
because most of the cast was from their Broadway cast, which was so good. But it is wonderful. I highly recommend it. I think everybody should go and see it. And I'm just glad that we got to last night.
Yeah, and don't forget, check out our interview that we did with Colleen Sexton from Dear Evan Hansen. That is up now as well. I'll be going to see Dear Evan Hansen here in a couple of weeks and giving my opinion again. Um, Once again, bravo to Naomi Rogers, Garrett Turney, the entire cast of Tina. I'm going to reiterate this again. If you love Tina, if you just like the music of Tina Turner, if you just enjoy like the jam of Tina Turner, go see the show. Like it is different. Like I turned on Tina Turner's music to go home, and I felt like even like the tempo and everything from when they did it at the show to her recording was like way more high tempo as well, and it's just phenomenal. So that's it for us. Stacy, thanks so much for joining. It's great. We'll see y'all next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about yet. We'll talk about that and go from there.
All right. Bye, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye. See you next week.